Men of Stone, Chapter 14. Expecting great things from you people. Shepherd paused meaningfully. He liked to call us you people, as though we were somehow different, separate from the rest of the human race. Max Ton's hand shot up. I'm confused. The class laughed, but Shepherd held up his hand to silence the snickering. Max, as usual, was unperturbed. Go on, Shepherd said. I'm almost finished my research, Mr. Shepherd. Dork, somebody called out. With one hand, Shepherd ushered whoever it was out the back door. I didn't even turn to see who it was. Proceed, Mr. Ton, Shepherd said smoothly. Well, I can't really figure out who's who. I mean, there's the Red Army and the White Army. The Tsarists. What are they, the monarchists? The Bolsheviks, the communists, the fascists? Who can keep them all straight? And your question is? Shepherd asked patiently. It all keeps changing. How do you know who the bad guys are? Why do there have to be bad guys? Max had no ready answer. Makes it easier to shoot them, I said, surprising myself more than anyone else. Shepherd pushed his half-glasses up on his nose, and as if he wanted to read me. Tell me there's some irony in your voice, Mr. Conrad. I shrugged. Sorry I'd spoken. My swollen eye was pulling with tiredness, and I just wanted to sleep. Sure. Shepherd stuck his glasses into his shirt pocket. He had his hopeful teacher look stretched across his face. No, really, Mr. Conrad. Elaborate. Why does it make them easier to shoot them? To what end? To the end of them. Then they're gone, erased. They can't hurt anybody, I said, muffled and quiet, but he was listening. And how do we recognize the bad guy? His teacher voice was gone. He was just a person now. It's in the eyes, I said. He didn't say anything, for the first time. And the strange thing was, part of me wanted him to have a really great, smart response. Prove me wrong, I wanted to shout. Give me one good reason. But the bell rang. I picked up my books and filed out of the room with everyone else. 2 days later, I found myself in the gym with Fish. The room pulsed like it was a living, sweating organism. Every inch of space was occupied with guys pumping iron. In the center of the room was a ring marked by a rope, a neat, organized square for civilized, organized fighting. One of the trainers, Alec, fitted us with gloves. He had a medium build and wasn't much taller than me, but he looked strong and fit. He taught us the basics. Boxing is an athletic contest between two people, he started in a low, soft voice. Use your fist to try and knock the other unconscious, or to inflict enough punishment to cause your opponent to quit or be judged defeated. Fish nodded knowingly. He'd had a couple of lessons last year, but I sucked it all in like a baby, taking in my first lungful of true air. Knock the other unconscious. Sounds good to me. Claude had been suspiciously absent for the past few days, but he was always with me. Maybe he knows he went too far, Fish had said. He's biding his time. Sounds like something Stan would say. Stan. He was with us there too. The longer he stayed away, the more he was with us. Alec was still talking. Something about ancient Rome and when they'd maimed or killed an opponent. Remember, though, the emphasis in boxing is not strength as much as agility. It's not about beating your opponent as much as it is about pushing through your own pain, pushing yourself to the limit. That's the point. I didn't know much about the pushing through pain part, but I understood agility. This was encouraging. I pulled the strings of the gloves tight with my teeth. It felt weird wearing those big, bulbous leather extensions of clenched fists, almost cowardly. Alec left us in the ring. We had on helmets as well as mouth guards. Protection, he called it. Fish stood calmly as I came out swinging. Control, he said. Wait for the moment. He moved around me, hunched over, protecting vital organs. His arms were up, his fists ready. I watched him from the center. Then I began to copy his moves, circling around him. It was a dance. He didn't know it, I was sure of that. But it was definitely a dance. My legs felt less heavy, and I could hear music in my head. Only a beat, but music. I moved in 3 quick dance steps without thinking, a pas de bourrée, to be precise. Not that I ever tell Fish. That's good, that's right, you're getting it. My arms, as if spring-loaded, darted out, catching Fish lightly in the chin strap. He hadn't seen it coming. Okay, smart boy, Fish grinned. His right hand caught me neatly on the side of my helmet, but I spun away from him. That was easy, familiar. I moved back to miss his left hook, and then forward to connect right under his chin. He was surprised and stopped moving, just watching me as I came at him again. I stopped in my tracks. What? You're a natural, he said quietly. There was admiration in his eyes. I'd never seen that before. After each session at the gym, I felt more alive and in control. My shoulder was nearly back to normal and the bruises were fading. I was almost my old self, except I wasn't. What happened in the courtyard with Claude had changed me. I would never again be someone's target. We still hadn't heard from Stan. The last time I called his mother, I'd heard desperation in her voice. Tough, I thought. Much too little and far too late. One evening I was practicing jabs in the mirror, and Frida walked by. I should have closed my door. Who's winning? She asked, smiling. I grinned sheepishly. It's a draw, I think. May I sit down? Sure. I pulled my desk chair out for her. I haven't seen you very much lately. I've missed our talk, she said. I shrugged. I've been busy with school stuff. It was amazing how easy lying was becoming. I think your sisters miss you as well. I laughed out loud. Uh-huh, no way. What makes you so sure? That's just the way it is around here, Aunt Frida. There's me and there's them. It's always been that way. Not quite true either. I had a feeling and a few photos to back it up that me and my dad used to do guy things together. Tossing a basketball, kicking a soccer ball in the park. I used to be part of an us. It works out okay, Aunt Frida. I give them their space, they give me mine. Her eyes looked sad. You're planning to fight this boy, then? The boy who gave you the black eye? Caught by a left hook out of nowhere. I'm just training, getting in shape. It's dangerous out there, I said noncommittally. There are other ways of fighting back, Ben. Beth said that same thing, I said, sitting down on my bed. Tell me honestly, when they took Henry away or when Jacob left, didn't you want to fight back, Aunt Frida? I leaned over, my elbow on my knees. Maybe it was unfair. I shouldn't upset her, but I really wanted to know. Of course, Ben, every night after Henry was taken, I thought about revenge. I was filled with rage. All things work for good, people told me. Pah! These words meant nothing. My thoughts of revenge kept me warm, kept me company. They were all I had left. So what did you do? The thought of that rushed with heat when I imagined smashing Claude's face with my fists, feeling and hearing the bones give way. All my life I've been told how wrong it is to fight. If you reach for the sword, you'll die by the sword. But this meant nothing. The men of stone had taken what was precious from me. Didn't they deserve to suffer? Night after night I imagined ways to make them hurt. I concocted such tortures in my mind that they would beg for mercy, my mercy. As she spoke, a light burned in her eyes that made me uneasy. I couldn't imagine that an old lady could own such feelings. It didn't fit with the loving way she acted with my family. I couldn't look any more. I put my head in my hands. Gradually I heard a softer voice. Then I dreamed, Ben. Not just my usual nightmares. I dreamed that I was standing outside the prison waiting. Then the fence, the chains fell away, and I was in the middle of the courtyard. I was walking towards Henry. He was standing in the sunlight. I reached out to him, but when he turned, it wasn't Henry I touched. It was the guard, the man who'd let me see Henry. His eyes were kind. He was not my enemy. He was only a man, and all he could do was shoot me. My true enemy was the hatred inside of me, and it could do far more harm. I don't understand that. I was exhausted, Ben. Hatred is an all-consuming master. So much had been taken from me. The only thing I had left was my humanity. I couldn't let the men of stone take that as well. I shook my head, not understanding, not wanting to understand. When you dance, Ben, do you always know where the music will lead you? Her words jarred me into the present. What did she know about dancing? Nothing. Claude or me. It wasn't about my humanity. It was about survival. When I looked up, she had left. After that, I avoided my family even more. It was easy with Joni and Mad because they were ignoring me, as if the silent treatment would be too unbearable and I'd come crawling. Mum tried to figure out where I was at, but Psych 100 wasn't enough, and she gave up as long as I was home by curfew. That just looked sad, which tore me up, but I told myself that things would get back to normal once I had it out with Claude. Everything would be better, and Stan would come back. I avoided Aunt Frida as well. She seemed to want something from me that I couldn't give. At night I felt she sat by my bedside, but I was never sure, and when morning came there was no sign. After school, I'd go straight to the gym. Sometimes Fish came with me, but most often I'd go alone. I burned inside like a chemical fire, sucking everything living out of the air. I was pumping iron as well as sparring, building muscles and getting stronger. I liked the feeling of power it gave me, to push harder, to feel the tendons and muscles pulling and straining until I thought I'd pop. Sometimes Alec would give me a few tips, mumble about moving through the pain, then tell me to take it easy. But I wouldn't take it easy. I was possessed. Besides, it helped me not to think about Stan, lost and wandering out there. The other day, Fish and I had stopped by to see if there was any news. Eventually, Mrs. Bellado answered the bell, looking cross and beaten down. "He's not here," she said through the screen door. She turned, responding to someone inside. "Shut up! I can't hear myself think." Mr. Bellado came up the sidewalk behind us. He just sidestepped and walked through the doorway without a glance or a word to his wife. "Nice of you to drop by," she muttered as he slid past. "There's no news," she said to us. But this time her eyes looked sad, and I felt a pang of pity. "He'll come home," I said. She looked at me, her eyes half closed, as if it took too much effort to open them wide. "He's always been trouble, that one. I keep a roof over his head, feed him. Nothing's ever enough." Fish was already backing away at this point, embarrassed and tugging my arm. But I couldn't leave. I wanted to say something to her. Something about how Stan had always stood up for me, always been there for me. How he made me feel good about myself. But I couldn't find words, and she just shrugged and closed the door in my face. I tried to imagine her on the other side of the door caring, but I couldn't. I picked up the weights now and hoisted them